Hello and welcome to another Truckin' Office Live. I'm Alan Campbell with Truckin' Office, and this series is called How to Run a Better Trucking Business. So we're going to talk about that today. And in our series, what we're doing is using the Truckin' Office Pro version of the software to manage a fake trucking company. We're pretending we have about 3 trucks, and then we're updating the records every day. And this way we can show some principles about management in general, but also some technique on how to use the software. So welcome to this episode, and let me start sharing screen and we'll get right into it. Okay, so this is today's update. Today is November 11th. It's Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to all of our past and present veterans out there. I'm also a veteran. I served in the 25th Infantry Division in the United States Army. I was in during peacetime. That's always my disclaimer when I talk about my service. However, I did spend a couple of years in the infantry, so happy Veterans Day. So our trucking company today is, this is our update. So what I've done is I've come into our trips page. When you log in, you'll land on your dashboard, and up at the top here, I've clicked on trips page. And this is where the way things stand today. If you're not familiar with our software, let me just explain real quick. This page is basically like the old school whiteboard that dispatchers used to have. For those of us that have been around for a while, dispatchers used to keep track of everything on a whiteboard a lot of times, or sometimes on paper and pencil. But the idea is a list of all the trucks and a list of all the loads they're currently doing, and maybe things that are booked out for the week. And then every day of the week, then you go erase this and write a new one in, and erase another one and write a new one in. And this is how you kept these dispatchers generally kept track of what the trucks were doing today and what they were going to be doing over the next couple of days. So we keep all the trucks full, loaded, and out there running. Okay. So when you go to the trips page, this is showing what trips the drivers are currently on and what they have coming up. Okay. So highlighted in green here are the loads that are delivering today. So those would be the first things to update. Then the loads that are in yellow are loads that are delivering tomorrow or sometime in the future. It could be next week or, a number of things, but tomorrow or anytime in the future is highlighted in yellow. So that's where we'll start. Is the one that is in green is our driver, Bill Smith, and he did a load from Chicago, Illinois to Akron, Ohio. And this particular truck we have set up just on a dedicated lane. He's just going back and forth from Akron to Chicago, Chicago to Akron, and that's what he does every day on a dedicated thing. So what we'll do today is we know he delivered today, all right? And this is what's in the afternoon, so we're going to assume he got delivered this morning okay, and he's turned in his bill of lading now, which is real easy to do with the ELD mobile app, the Truckin' Office mobile app. Is after he delivers with the app, he can just take a picture of the bill of lading after it's signed and save it. And when he does that, it automatically loads right into the software. So we're just going to assume we already got the bill of lading turned in, and then we're going to invoice it today. So delivers today, invoices today. There's no reason to wait. Let's get invoiced right away. Let's get the pay process started on this load. So what we'll do is we'll click the view button and view this load. And we'll scroll on down this. I'll cover if this is your first time looking at this software, I'll cover some of this, what we're looking at in a little while when we create a load. But the first thing we're going to do is create an invoice. So this load's in here. We're going to scroll down. This is all the information on the load. If there's anything we need to edit or change or update, now's our time to do that. We're going to assume everything on ours is good to go. So we're going to just create the invoice. Very easy. Click the button to create the invoice. It generates an invoice number. You can make a custom one, but most people don't. Just the standard system invoice number is fine. Invoice date is today. The remit to, it's going to be defaulted to remit to your company, okay? But if you need to do a third-party remit to, and for like factoring and stuff like that, this is your place to put that in. If you need to make notes about this invoice, these are internal notes, okay? Down here at the bottom, we have just that this load is pre-selected because we're looking at the load when we clicked on create invoice, so it's already set up. So really all we needed to do on this page is I just covered what all the options were, but I didn't change anything or click on anything. It was all defaulted to the right things. So we just create the invoice. So 2 clicks, now I have my invoice done. That was easy. All right. Now, this is the invoice information that we're looking at here. And then over here, we have a detailed PDF version or a basic PDF version. You can pick which one you want to do. All the stuff you do with PDFs, right? You can save it, email it, print it, whatever you need to do with that. A couple different layouts. What most people do, though, is use this send via email. And you click on this. This email address is whatever is defaulted. Your customer, when you entered the customer into your address book and you entered the email address, then the system already knows that. So there you go. That's filled in. The invoice number. You have the chance to add an attachment. This is for like adding the rate con or bill lating and stuff like that. You can add it here. Type in a message, thanks for your business, or whatever you want to type in there, and then send it. And then that thing's gone. Now I'm not going to send this right now just because, I've got fake data in here and stuff like that. I'm just showing you guys how it works. But then that would be done. And then we can go right back to our invoice list. When we go back to invoice list, I've clicked on invoices here at the top navigation bar. Brings us to our list. Today, like I said, is November 11th. Okay, so this is the invoice we just created. It's been added to our list. And then later, when we get paid for this invoice, we can enter in the payment right here from this list. Okay, so you can see the ones we've already created in the past. Okay, then when we go over here to loads, I wanted to show you right here on your status, your load status, right here in the this column. It shows this load that was highlighted in green that we just did. The status changed to invoice. So this one's all done now. So we've done everything we need to do with this load, and it's done. So then the next thing we need to think about is this driver, Bill Smith. Throughout the whole app, any of these things that are hot links, like I'm hovering over right here, you can see that that's a link, and the truck is a link. If you click on these, it'll sort by that. So if I wanted to sort by truck number, for example, I could click on this and it's going to show me all of the loads for truck 2. But I usually do it by driver, but you could do it by truck also. And then if you click on that, it's showing me all the loads for Bill Smith. But he always drives truck 2. So I would have got the same results if I click truck 2. But down here below, he was in truck 3 for a while and truck 1 for a while. So you can see if you sort by truck 2, we can see who else drove truck 2, right? And it looks like John Doe drove truck 2 at one time. Okay, so just showing you guys different ways you can sort data anywhere in the app. This is true in the expenses section, the load section, the invoices section. You can sort by customer, city, state, a lot of places, ways to sort the data. But when you sort by Bill Smith, then you can just see his stuff, so you can tell kind of what he's doing normally, right? And so we said he's on a dedicated lane from Chicago to Akron, Akron to Chicago. So the first thing we're going to do is he was in Akron, so now we're going to do this load again. So we're just going to clone it. We're going to click this clone button right over here on the right. And what that does is makes a copy of that last load that he did from Akron to Chicago. Okay, so the customer, we don't have to change anything. That's already pre-filled because we copied it. The shipper and the consignee, where it picks up and where it goes, we don't have to change that stuff because it's in the same place. Now this load actually has 2 shippers. So it also has one in Canton, Ohio. That's close to where I'm at. And then you can add even more shippers. What if it had 3 pickups or 4 pickups? Sometimes people do a lot of LTLs or multiple pickups or multiple deliveries. This is your place to do that. You just keep adding as many as you want to, or as many as you need. Okay. So what do we need to change? Well, we need to change the dates. So let's start with that. Instead of the 9th, we're going to say it's picking up today on the 11th. You might need to update the bill of lading number and pickup number and stuff like that. Weight, some of those kind of details about the load. Just go ahead and update that information here. On the second pickup, we'll update the date on that one also. Move it over here to the 11th. Delivery dates, then, if we're picking up on the 11th, this is usually an overnight trip, or a next day trip. So we'll schedule that for tomorrow on the 12th. And then the rate's going to be the same because we do this load all the time. It's a dedicated lane, so that's all we need to do, and save it. So as soon as we save that, this becomes a planned load in the load planner section. Okay, and so now it's a planned load. Now, when you do a planned load, this doesn't update any reports or do anything for you other than it just saves your data. So what you're looking at here is just showing that, okay, this is the information you saved. Okay. The next step to this then is to add this planned load to a trip. So we're going to click this green Add a Trip button. Now, once we're doing this, if you scroll down, we will see that load that we had from Akron to Chicago. It's already checked off because that is the one we're dispatching. And we're dispatching it by assigning the driver to it. And our pull down is Bill Smith. If you're new to the software and you don't have any drivers yet, you'll need to create one. So create a driver, and right from this form, you can enter in a driver. Or if you need to do a second driver, third driver, whatever. Now, the system already knows that Bill Smith drove truck 2 last time, so I don't have to figure all this out every time. The system already knows this stuff. Now, if he's changing trucks, no problem. Use your menu there and you can change it. But most of the time, guys stay in the same truck regularly, so the system already knows that. The system already knows that the last load he delivered was in Akron with truck 2 and the date. And so down here is a place to enter in extra routing stops or fuel expenses or whatever, but we're not going to do all that right now. We're just going to dispatch it, the load on the trip. Now it's giving us a warning here, an error. It's saying trip route needs clarification. So when we look at the information, at the details, the only reason it's doing that is because there's 2 pickups on the same day, and the system doesn't know which one is supposed to go first. And in our case, we're going to do the Akron first, then the Canton, so it's in a good order. But if we needed to change that, we can move it up or down, and we can readjust the order of that. So we're just going to save it the way it is. Now, trip's created successfully. So when that trip gets created, that's when it updates everything in the system. Okay, so this is just showing you your basic information that you saved on the trip. It's showing you that it's 406 miles. Okay. Here's your rate, $1,200. It was a flat rate on this case. And then we scroll down to the next section, the driver pay settlement, the driver settlement information all updated. So this is what's being added to the driver settlement for this load and this trip. This is a profit and loss area for this trip. So it's just showing revenues and profits. Right now we haven't added any expenses for this trip. So we could add fuel expenses and stuff like that, but we haven't done any of that yet. There's an area here about the load itself. You can upload your bill of lading, your rate con, stuff like that. Okay. And then later on, when we're ready, we'll be able to create the invoice. But this is your invoice summary, which is showing your rate. The next section down is showing your miles by state. So these are all the miles we travel through and the miles for the states. We're getting those miles from PC Miler. PC Miler practical truck route miles. This is not shortest distance or any of that kind of stuff. These are not generic miles. These are PC Miler practical route truck miles. Now you have to have the PC Miler add-on to be able to get that. Some people opt out of PC Miler and just enter in their manual miles, but it's so much handier to have the PC Miler add-on. Then the bottom section here is just the actual steps. We started in Akron, went to Canton, went to Chicago, and it's just stepping through, and it will pick up the empty miles, the loaded miles of every trip. You don't have to do anything extra to get empty miles. The system already knows how to pick all that stuff up. Okay, then we have all these miles stored, and then we can use them for things like mileage stats, like revenue per mile and those kind of things on every trip, on every month. And then we can also use them for things like when you need your IFTA reports and you need your IRP reports and all that kind of stuff, which makes it really easy. Just click on it and it's all set. Okay, so that is all done. Now, when we go back to trips, we will see now that Bill Smith is right here going to Akron to Chicago, and that delivers tomorrow on the 12th. Now, my other drivers here, John Doe, go down to Miami, and he's scheduled to get there tomorrow on the 12th. And then Campbell, that's me, on a load from Houston, Texas to Augusta, Maine, and that's scheduled to deliver on Friday the 13th. So I think we're all set. We have everybody dispatched. Everybody's on a load. So the goal for every day to run a better trucking business, is to get every driver in the yellow zone so that they're on a trip, on a load, and run. So all the drivers are running, they're scheduled out, and we have 2 drivers that are delivering tomorrow. So, you could be already looking for loads for tomorrow. So say today's Wednesday afternoon. Tomorrow I have 2 guys delivering loads on Thursday morning. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, Wednesday afternoon, we end up booking the following load for that driver. So what we should do then is enter that in now. So if you already have one booked for tomorrow, go ahead and enter that in, and then it'll just show up above here as another load in the yellow zone that's scheduled out. So it'll be delivered tomorrow, then there'll be another load to deliver sometime after that. And then also what that does is, I forgot to mention that as soon as you take that planned load and assign it to the driver, when he has the Trucking Office ELD mobile app, that will automatically show up on the driver's app. You don't have to do anything to send it to him or copy and paste or do nothing. It just, the load information is going to show up right in his app. So then if he's delivering tomorrow and then there's another load, there's a section in the app for upcoming loads, and the driver can see what's assigned to him. And it just sends him the load information, the shipper's address, the appointment number, appointment time, appointment number, whatever it is, or it might be a PO number. There's all different variations of that stuff. Whatever you need him to have so that he can go get loaded and know where he's going, that information goes right to his ELD app seamlessly. So that's one of the real advantages of having a software and an ELD system that all run on the same platform. A lot of that stuff that goes back and forth is just seamless now. Okay, so this is the trips list. We're all set on this. We'll go back to the loads and we'll take a look, and we'll be able to see we have all 3 of our trucks dispatched. And the other piece of this that you need to do every day is make sure everything's invoiced. And so right from this list, I can see that all 3 of my drivers are dispatched and in yellow, so are all on loads. And then everything before that delivered today and in the past, everything is invoiced. So those are the 2 things that you should make sure you're doing every day for your trucking business to run a better trucking business. Make sure the guys are all dispatched and make sure everything is invoiced. Because obviously, cash flow is king, right? So you want to make sure that cash, whatever every customer's got different pay options. Some people are factoring, so they get paid faster. Some customers are 30 days. Some customers do quick pays. It just depends. But no matter how you're set up and no matter what your process is, you need to start that process as soon as possible. And so if you have a load that's delivering today and you can invoice it today because you have up-to-date information, then that is the name of the game. So every day we want to make sure our trucks are dispatched and they're in the system and then they're invoiced. And because we're putting these loads in, as soon as we're booking them, right then when you have the rate con in your hand, go ahead and scan that into the system. Then it's all set. Then as soon as that bill of lading shows up, this thing is ready to invoice. And, invoicing same day is real easy, just like I demonstrated earlier, because the loads are already set. A couple clicks, you have an invoice, shoot off the email, you're all done. Okay. All right. So let's see the reports. We look at the reports every day too. The best one to look at is the company overview report to see kind of what is going on with our company, right? In the company overview report, this is where it updates what our revenues are and our expenses. So at the top of the report, we're looking at these charts. Now I've just started running this trucking company, so I don't have like a lot of history built up here. Maybe I should go back and populate in a couple of older loads just so we start to see some lines on our graph here. And then the one on the right is showing our per mile overview. So we're showing profit per mile and expenses per mile. That's the name of the game, right? Is to make more profits. Everybody talks about revenue and revenue per mile and revenue per day, but really it's all about profits. You can make really high revenue per mile and not run very, and then have a big truck payment and not make very much profit. So that's really the name of the game, right? How much money do we get to keep at the end of it all? So this report breaks all of that down for you so that you can make the necessary adjustments to put more profits in your pocket. Revenue, expenses, and profits, standard profit and loss things, right? But then it's also going to show some trucker stats. It's going to show, your load count for the month, your revenue per load, miles, overall miles, okay? And then miles per load. And then it's going to break down revenue per load, revenue per mile, expenses per mile, and profit per mile. Then we further break those down into loaded miles, revenue per loaded mile. Now, I know all miles count, that, and it's there, okay? But when you're bidding on freight, a lot of the customers put out these bid sheets and stuff, and you're bidding on different lanes and things, and they don't include empty miles. You have to be able to bid on loaded miles, okay? You might be bidding on this lane or that lane or whatever, and so you need to know what you typically average on your loaded miles as well as all miles included. When you're figuring out if you're making money or not, then I understand that you burnt fuel on all the miles, but when the customers pay, they're usually paying for the loaded miles. So this is where this report breaks all that down in a way that you can analyze how your business is going and how you want to bid your freight. If another thing that it does is, sometimes things fluctuate in the trucking industry, right? Like we all know there's times when it's real hot and times when it isn't, and you have ups and downs. They always used to say the trucking industry is feast or famine. It's always been that way. That's nothing new. I remember one particular time I was really stressed out about things were really going rough, and I was talking to one of my fellow that I knew that had been in the business way longer than me, one of my mentors, one of the guys that hired me on when I first started. And I said, boy, things are getting really rough. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, man, the rates are terrible. Your fuel is high. I mean, it's just tough to make it sometimes. And he goes, oh, this ain't nothing new. He said, it's always been this way. And I thought that was just such an interesting perspective that, here I am, only been in the business a handful of years. He's been in the business like 40 years. And he's like, this is nothing new. Trucking has always been like this. It is going to be feast or famine. It's going to be up and down. So because we understand that, it's really important to understand your numbers as they go up and down. They are not going to stay the same. If you're making really good revenues right now, then you need to prepare for the idea that in 6 months from now, that could be totally different. And so if you do contract lanes and contract freight, then the revenues are a little more steady and there's less ups and downs, but you have to know how to split the difference. And so what this report does is it shows you month over month how your numbers change. You can also run this report year over year. You can run this report for 3 years at a time and see your numbers over time and see how things are changing. Are you experiencing growth or down? How are things changing? But on this page, this is defaulted to year to date. And then at the bottom here, it gives you totals. And what that's showing you is you have total revenue for the year, you have total expenses for the year, profits for the year, but then it starts to break down your revenue per miles and stuff like that. So that is your averaged over time. And so you can start to see that you may be doing really well. Like I said earlier, you may be doing really well now or not as good now, but over time, where are those numbers? And if you're going to bid on a contract lane that's going to be the same year round, then, maybe you do really well in the summer and not so well in the winter. But if you were doing a contract lane that was same year round, maybe it doesn't need to be at your peak rate. Maybe it needs to be just a little bit above what your average rate is for the year. And then you run that same thing all year long and you have steady work and you're doing better than what your averages are. So a lot of different ways to look at this data and use this data to help your business and to make good management decisions and really improve the bottom line, because that's the name of the game. Is we want to improve the bottom line. We want to reduce stress and spend less time dealing with all this paperwork and all this stuff. As you can see, we just did some updates. It didn't take that long, 10 or 15 minutes. We updated a few loads, and then all of our records are there. We can do whatever we need to do later on. Later on, when we need to run IFTA reports, right here's the quarterly IFTA report. Right here's an IRP report. There's all different kinds of expense reports. Driver settlements are just a couple clicks, kind of like invoicing, really. So it's going to make all that other stuff that you might need to do so much easier. But as far as the day-to-day, updating your drivers, dispatching your trucks, the system just makes things way easier, way smoother. So appreciate you guys watching the video today. We are doing this as a live stream. However, if you're not viewing this live, if you're viewing this thing later at some point, I appreciate you still taking a look at the video. appreciate it if you give us a couple likes, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notified when we go live. If you're new to the software, if you're not on the free trial yet, then by all means, go to truckingoffice.com, click on the free trial. There's no surprise credit card entry forms or anything like that. You enter in your email address and a couple little questions about your business. You'll get full access to the full version of the software immediately. We'll email you over some management videos on 4 pillars of trucking management. You'll also get some training videos on how to use the software and how to do account setup. And so that'll walk you through all of that kind of stuff. So watch for those things in your email. And then you'll get 30 days to use the software, try it out, put a couple loads in like I'm showing you here today, and see how much smoother it makes it for your business. You'll be impressed with it, I'm sure. We've been in business for over 10 years. We have thousands of people using our software. We're a family-owned and family-managed trucking software business. We're not like these big Silicon Valley people in California that have hundreds of millions of dollars. We're just I used to have a trucking business, and so that's why we developed this. So we'd like to have an opportunity to earn your business. If you're already on the free trial and you have some questions about how to do something, you say, hey, Alan, I appreciate the video, but really in our operation, we do some things a little bit different. How do I do this task or that task? I'd be happy to answer that in the comments. I'd be happy to demonstrate that on tomorrow's video. In these videos we're doing every day, we're updating the trucking business. Okay, so thanks again for watching the video. Don't forget to at least give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.